Hello everybody, Lake-Stage Community Advocate and Educator here, back again. I want to talk about TIF districts and some things that actually go on with TIF districts and maybe even code enforcement violations and what you need to look for. But for now, go check out Lake Station Strong Towns Collective on Facebook or Lake Station Strong Local Conversations on Facebook as well. And, well, let's get to it. So, TIF districts is just tax increment financing, right? It sounds great. On the general spectrum, it sounds awesome. It seems like it's a great idea. But down deep, it's a poison waiting to happen. It's a bomb just waiting to be triggered off. Thanks to years of bad finance management, thanks to bad decision making, thanks to bad modern codes and ordinances, there's a slew full of factors that help to lead to the decay of cities and towns. If your town has a economic development official, chances are they're probably going to be asked to fix what's left, like the pieces of a very long-ran, left-alone, problematic financial issue within town. And while sometimes I feel sorry for them on another aspect, I often wonder how much of those economic development officials are a part of the same political machine that has gotten the town into that very same depth of just financial ruin. Now, TIF districts, they're a pretty blunt and very chaotic tool, but it's a very sly tool. It's used by city officials, basically, is what it is. But in reality, it's like a really horrible demonic tool that slowly brings in the inevitable decline, and it just slowly seeps into the community, and it just ruins the souls of communities. It just rips them apart in such an evil way, and people don't realize this because they really don't. They trust their officials. They think that their officials are going to do great, and they don't realize that TIF districts and a lot of these things that are going on, they don't realize how correlating they are together. That is presenting that slow decline within our community. But here are two really quick ways of how cities and towns get TIFs. First, they have to reconfigure a lot of their, how would you put it? A lot of the community, the lots, you have to make it to where you're going to be able to get an advantage to be able to develop on bare ground or on so-called blighted properties. The second thing that you got to do is your city's got to continue policies that are going to devalue certain neighborhoods where residential properties are not really blighted, but they're going to make it seem and portray it as being blighted or not viable, not livable. And they'll do this through code enforcement violations. And if anybody has watched any of my other videos on code enforcement violations and what to look for, I made it very crystal clear that on code violations, when it's saying blighted property, there's a reason, a very peculiar reason that they're using that word blighted. That is because that word blighted means to this county and to the state that, oh yes, we have proven that these properties are not of worth, and we want these properties because we want to build on them. Now, however, unfortunately, a lot of times, and we've noticed it in our own community, that these blighted properties, they get thrown into code enforcement court, and they give them maximum fine for minimum things, and they give them very minimal time to fix these things. If not, they try to throw a lien or they try to get your property in some sort of way. But for either one of those reasons, where you have to reconfigure things, or you got to continue in policies that devalue these communities, that's one of the two ways that you get TIF districts approved, and you get that approved for TIF. And TIF districts do make things great on the developers, and anybody who have their hands tied in with the developers, anybody can be tied in with it, and whoever's a part of it, they're probably benefiting from the TIF district. But the unfortunate thing is for taxpayers, they have to carry the burden of the TIF and who's all involved for generations, for numerous cycles. So you have people who are like, we got to do this for the kids. Well, it's probably not going to be until your grandkids or your great grandkids until things get straightened out. If there's good decision making and people are managing things well within town. I highly doubt that, but that's how that works. So what happens basically is in a TIF district, whap, you build in town, the developers and things like that, they're thrown tax subsidies that are awarded and given to them. They have, which is usually for a difference of the property, whatever's more. And then it entices more redevelopment of the blighted properties. And again, that goes back to your code enforcement violations. That's how they legally show the state and the county, well, these properties or these generalized areas are blighted. And that's how they bring in TIF district. And while, new developments do look great and everybody's like, woo, yeah, look how fast our mayor's doing such a great job. What people don't realize and who don't see what's going on, they're really just adding multiple generations of some slow, painful decline and some seriously bad investments of millions and millions of dollars. And it just creates less value is what it does in time. Now, while up front it looks great and it looks like great progress, it truly isn't. It's just a bomb waiting to happen. I mean, in short, like I mentioned, our mayor's doing such a great job. The politicians get to brag about how they're doing such a great job and they can pat themselves on the back. But in reality, it's really horrible. And even economic development team is able to even place it in their annual reports very fast and very noticeably. So it looks like the town's doing very well to the state and to the counties. Oh, they're doing such a great job. And like I said, people like to call that progress, but in reality, it truly isn't. And it has a lot of very unintended consequences, and people really need to be paying attention to the fact. So if you have a code enforcement violation and it has highlighted blighted or something of that nature, the word they really use is blighted, because that word blighted is very peculiar to tax increment funded areas and neighborhoods. So do your research on it. I challenge you to do your research on that, but it shows some very crazy things when you start reading tax increment funding and what's considered blighted properties. It's a very funny thing. And in our community, a lot of people were getting blighted property code enforcement violations, and it wasn't nothing but a little bit of weed eating. And it was kind of insane that this is going on, but now it makes sense because all they're doing is the administration here has been just delving us deeper into to financial ruin. And if they get beat out and a new mayor and a new system comes in, the new system's not going to have a chance. And so they're already shooting the foot off the new animal that's coming in that's going to try to make things better. It's tying their hands. They're not going to be able to progress the community as they should be. So I want people to be very aware of that. The other thing that I would like for people to be aware of are the unintended consequences, and I'm going to go through them in my next video. So stay with me for more on that. Please try to demand some accountability, some integrity, some transparency out of your city officials and things that are going on, and do not believe and listen to their lies and their smoozing. Be very critical of what they're telling you and question everything that they're telling you. Ask them for facts and ask them for proof. Show them what everything is going on. Ask them so they can show you. I'm the Lake Station Community Advocate and Educator. Stay with me for part 2 of this tax increment funding and code violations, because I want you to know what the unintended consequences are of TIF districts and what it can actually do to even schools. And so, thank you. Stay with me for next video.